Dear brothers and sisters, now we have a great personality, Acharya Shambhushivananda Avadhut. He had been economic analyst and economist. He had been a professor at the same time. Now he is the Kulapati of Anandamarg Gurukul University. So today just I'm going to give you some information and messages about the present scenario of world economy, at the same time the future of Indian economy. So now, Dadaji, I have a few questions about the present economic scenario of this world. So would you like to please share your views about the present economic scenario of the world?
Okay, go ahead. Well, the corona pandemic has created tremendous stress in the world. So, but there have been problems in the world economy for a long time. But this has just brought even the problems more into the focus. So many of the corporations, they are now in the red. They are, going in minus. But few are, of course, profiting also from this situation. So people are now beginning to question that the present system which we have, is that the solution for the world, or do we need to reorganize our world economy? So, there are three things which are needed to have balance in the economic sphere. One is we have to have a clear assessment of people's needs, people's requirements. And second, people need to have the purchasing power to be able to secure their necessities, to fulfill their needs. And the third is that there needs to be availability of goods and services. If we have these three things, then we can handle the world economy. Now, concerning the needs of the people, because our world economy is highly skewed, that means it is few people, they are controlling the large wealth of the world. So the priorities of the world are dictated by what they want. And that, for example, just a few days ago, Elon Musk was declared as the richest man on this earth.
Yeah.
And his priority is to go to moon, or to start the service between Earth and Moon. Well, this may not be the priority for the millions and billions of people who are just struggling from morning till night just to have, 2 square meals on the table. So that's why I think we have to, determine what are the real needs of the people. Everybody in the world, they want minimum essentialities of life: food, clothing, shelter, education, medicine, transportation, energy. These are the basic things which all over the world everybody requires. So this has to be the main focus. And with this coronavirus, people don't really know what is really going on, because out of fear, people are being led, to follow a particular path. So I think there needs to be rethinking as to the present system, whether it can ensure all the essentialities of life to all the people or not. And then the purchasing power, unemployment has gone down, has increased. Unemployment has increased, so means when people are unemployed, many of the people who were working in the big cities due to coronavirus, they had to go to their villages. They are living in their rural areas, and they don't have employment. So naturally, their purchasing power goes down. When you don't have regular income, your purchasing power goes down. Then you cannot fulfill, all your requirements. So this is another things which create strain. So if we follow the economic policy of rural employment, if we encourage decentralization of the economy and the rural employment, then there is no problem. It could be easily sorted out. But I think this is what has been lacking. Too much concentration in big cities and less in the rural areas, and that's why this dichotomy is there. And the third thing is availability of goods and services. Now we are misusing the scarce raw materials which are there in the world. Many of the earth's metals, rare earth metals, they are becoming extinct. And people, just out of consumption, people buy things which are not necessarily what they need, but it is just in order to, to fulfill their psychic desire, which is artificial desire created through advertising, through different means.
We can call it lust also,
Yeah,
greed.
Greed,
Yeah.
through greed also. So we have to, make sure that we make the maximum utilization of whatever scarce resources we have on this earth, and recycling, we have, for example, the whole world economy was guided by the fossil fuel industry. Even 100 years ago, we could have moved into the renewable energy, but it was not in the economic interest of these large corporations, so that's why they continue to use fossil fuels. And but now we are being forced to move towards renewable energy. The sun has been giving light to this earth for thousands of years, so there's no dearth of energy on this earth. But question is how to store that energy, how to tap that energy,
Yeah.
and how to make it as the base load. So there are technologies which are available, but I think what is missing is the political will. And when the political will comes, then we find that the changes come in the economy. So today in the world, everybody is realizing that we have to come to the basics. First we have to change our priorities, to the basic essentialities of life. They have to be provided to all the people, and we have to make the maximum utilization of the goods, of the metals, of the resources. We have neglected agriculture, biodiversity. For profit motive, we are only using monoculture rather than multi-culture, where we use many different varieties. So I think the world needs to be, the world economy needs to be looked at from the point of view of nature. What is in the interest of the ecology. The more we align our economy with nature, the more we will get abundance. Because in nature there is abundance. You plant one seed, you get 100 seeds. So there is abundance in nature. So we also need to align our way of life and our economy, with nature, and then we will see that there is, we can have prosperity, and we can have progress, we can have abundance, and there is enough for everybody. But if we want only few people's needs to be fulfilled, neglect the needs of the many, then of course we have a problem. So in the present circumstances, yes, I think the present government has made effort
Okay, Dada, please go ahead.
So we have to, that is why we have a new socioeconomic theory, which we call PROUT, Progressive Utilization Theory. And the main, the essential element of that theory is that we should have a decentralization of economy. We should have economic democracy. That means we have to ensure that the money does not get concentrated in the hands of few individuals, but rather it is spread out throughout the society. And that is what today is lacking, because today still either the money goes in the hands of the government, then it has to filter down, through GST, through different resources. The money is going to the government. The government needs money in order to take different developmental programs, but then it has to percolate down, and in the process of percolating down, we find that there are a lot of leakages, and that's where many people are complaining. Like now in this coronavirus period, people are getting money. The hospitals, they were not even treating patients who were not corona patients. This is ridiculous. There are people who had other diseases, and when they die, they say they are corona patients because they get some money from declaring as a corona patient. Yeah. So I think we have to give the economic power in the hands of the people, to the cooperatives, to the local communities, to the local areas. Yeah. And yes, we need money in the central government for security purposes, for administration, but but some balance is needed between the state and the federal government and the regional economic units.
So would you like to go more detail in that is as you told, the decentralized economy? What exactly mean? What is the decentralization? Because since our childhood, we have been learning about the centralization of economic power, and that centralization of economic power has led us to complete disaster now in this economic aspect. So, what force is forcing us to think about the decentralization of economic power?
What force is thinking?
What the situation is compelling us to think about the decentralization of economy?
Yeah, because people's purchasing power needs to be increased, and that will only increase when they have the resources to develop their local economy. So you can set up large corporations, and then people migrate to those places where you set up those units, or you can have a medium scale or a more spread out. So that way people don't have to move from wherever they are living. For example, if we are living here in Purulia district, there could be how to make our life economically self-sufficient in all our needs. So that means we need to encourage different types of industries in this area which will take care of all the needs of the people. Now, for example, in agriculture, all the production takes place in one part of the country, then they ship it to other parts of the country. And that's what the whole farmers' agitation is all about. If you allow the large corporations to come into this agricultural sector, then they will be again, what costs you only 5 rupees will be sold for 50 rupees. And there are many services also which they provide, but so it becomes more economically efficient, but the power of the local economy becomes weaker. The power goes from the farmers to the large corporates. This is what people are reacting against.
Yeah, I have seen in some videos they have been showing that one cauliflower that costs 10 rupees. But when they goes to the mall or big bazaar, that is sold at 300 or 600 rupees.
Yeah.
So it is really, it is general people, the general farmers, they can't think about that. They think that whatever we have produced, that may be cost 10 rupees or 20 rupees, something like that. but they have never seen that a cauliflower that is sold in the market at the cost of 600 rupees. Yeah, okay. So it is really. So as you have told about this present agricultural, you can say the bill, agriculture bill. Can you tell some more about little details about that?
Well, I have not studied the whole bill in detail, so I think it would not be fair to comment from what we get is But I think the agricultural sector is a profitable sector. That is because in this Corona period, people are realizing that it was the agriculture sector which saved. Because everybody needs to eat. Everybody needs those food on the table. So, because it is such an important segment of people's life, it should be regulated. It should be so that it doesn't go, so the government says, okay, we'll provide the minimum support price, but, they will provide the subsidies or whatever. But I think people have doubt that, they don't want to leave control of their basic economic activity and put it in the hands of the government or put it in the hands of the corporate. This is the biggest issue, is the fear that the control which is now with the farmers will ultimately go in the hands of the corporates or it will go in the hands of the government. And government is in hand in glove with the corporate. They are allowing the large corporations because they give them the money for their elections, they give them money also, they pay taxes also. And so it's easier for the government to collect money directly from the large corporations rather than from the small farmers. That's why there is a lot of agitation. So people, I think it is a fear. It is, and the way this bill was passed, there was no really big discussion in the parliament. It should have been discussed for a long time, and people's input should have been taken before it was passed. So I think whenever you have power gets concentrated, because government thinks it has majority now, it can do anything. And I think people don't want that kind of autocratic political regime. People would like. So I think the economic affairs should be left in the hands of the people rather than government coming into the economic affairs in every walk of life.
Oh, it means too much involvement of government in public sector or agriculture sector may or can destroy the economic balances, isn't it?
Yeah, it gives the power, it takes the power away from the farmers and brings it in the hands of the government or in the hands of the corporations. And this is what people don't want.
Okay. So, what do you think about this privatization of public sector like railway, electricity, and so many things day by day? Because the present, the population or the people of India, they have really faith in the present government. But we don't see any economic changes or positive changes in this aspect of economy. We see some positive gesture, that is the external affairs, that is okay. But so far economic issues are concerned, we don't see any changes.
Yeah, fundamentally.
So, what do you think about this privatization of railway, privatization of the public sector?
Well, there are two aspects. One is that, the privatization does increase efficiency. In governmental things, sometimes there is, the productivity and the efficiency goes down. In private sector, the efficiency increases. But if you give the total control in the hands of the private sector, then you are at the mercy of, because their goal is profit. They are not doing it as a service. They are doing it for profit. So we have to run public sector with the principles of private sector. That means without profit motive, they should be run for the benefit of the people, but they should be run efficiently. So there should be government supervision, government regulation, but they should not be privatized. the things which are common good, the things which are of public, basic raw materials, the things which people need. Because then, you see, in the things which people need, you have a high, what in economics we call the law of, marginal utility, means you have a high consumer surplus. For example, salt you need. Whether you pay 2 rupees or 5 rupees, you're not going to live without salt. So people,
have to buy
if you
it.
privatize it, they keep on increasing. But because you need something, you have to buy it. You have, no control over it. So I think there has to be some regulation over the, over how things are run. But they should be, if it is done by private sector, there should be government regulation over it. If there is done by public sector, then there should be, again, we have to see that they are being run efficiently or not. Air India service is so poor, and you compare with the private airlines, they are running much more efficiently than Air India. That's why it is going in loss. And they have a ready market. All the government transportation, everything, that market, it comes to them. You have to fly using that airline. But it has been running inefficiently for so long that it's running in minus. So I think public sector is not the solution. But public sector, how public sector can become more efficient, that should be the, concern, how to make it more efficient. And if it is private sector, then we have to see that there is not too much, profit motive does not undermine the need of the people to get things at a fair price. So I think we have to look at both aspects, the collective good as well as the efficiency of running things.
So, Dadaji, we can see in India, since last few years, we have two Nobel Prize winner economists. One is Mr. Amartya Sen. So, and some Bhattacharya, some Chatterjee. So people are so proud of that they are a great economist and they are thinking. But do you think they have any involvement in this present economic planning of India?
No, they are not. They are not playing any role at all.
So, what is their views about this present economy? Have you ever gone through their views?
Well, I met Amartya Sen in Japan when I was invited in Kyoto Forum one time, and he gave one seminar there. I was there. I think his research. I'm not really, too familiar with what role he's playing now, but he is kind of, supports, the Marxist economic policy, you can say.
Yeah. Okay. So, what is the future of present Indian economy? Do you think that the movement of economic policy, or you can say the motivation, do you think it is going toward proper direction?
Well, I think in many areas, yes, the government is, the quality of life of the poor people has definitely improved compared to the past. Government has responded to the needs of the, but the middle class is being squeezed. And the rich class, they are benefiting from the government policy because they have handed over, all the control of the economy to these large Adani and
Ambani
and all these people. So so I think how to how to deal with the problems for the middle class, that is still a big question. People have patience, but people don't see other alternative. That's why they are keeping quiet. But people's patience will run out after 5 years, 10 years. And now the inflation, from 83 lakh crores, debt, we have doubled our debt in the last 8-10 years. So naturally, the inflation will be there. People, I think the government is under a lot of stress, and the middle class is suffering a lot. I think in this. First, the demonetization, it took away, people used to have some buffer in there. Because people misuse also, people have, so there are always two sides. The question is how to help the people, but at the same time, how to curb those who are misusing the system, those who are misusing. So I think we need a strong administration, but we need policies which are, for the welfare of the masses. So it's not an easy thing to run a country, but the present economic policy of the government is blindly supporting the large corporates. I think that will have to change sooner or later. And how to minimize our governmental expenditures, because now everything is, any young person, he wants a job either in the defense or in the, the places which are, government kind of control, because there they feel that, so the whole economy is going in the hands of the government, whereas actually it should go in the hands of the public. So it's a challenge. It's not easy thing to do, but at the same time, it will have to be done today or tomorrow, I think.
Okay. So as you have mentioned one word in your views, that is the privatistic economy. So what privatistic economy says about this Marxist economy and the capitalistic economy?
The capitalist economy means there's a concentration of wealth. That is the main problem with it. Everything, they are monetizing everything. So, and that's, now for example, we are starting with these vaccinations. Everybody is being forced that they have to get vaccination. A kind of a phobia is created all over the world that you have to vaccinate, whether you need it or you don't need it. It's just out of fear. I think it's too much phobia is created as a result of this. Yeah, people need to take precautions. People need to have, it should be available for the people, but you cannot force the people that they have to follow and have to do this. So I think the money becomes the sole criteria of society. Everybody wants more and more packages, more and more money, and people lose the values of life, gradually get distorted. So that is why the matter-centered or the dogma-centered philosophies have no future, because they are leading towards degradation. Whereas what we need is a more spiritual orientation to life. So that spiritual orientation means we should provide the necessities of people. Everybody needs comforts of life, everybody needs basic essentialities of life. But that should not be the main goal of life. The main goal of life has to be, more creative and proper development, different faculties of the mind for the benefit of society and for spiritual realization. So I think this, a balanced approach to life, that is what is missing in the capitalist system, because in the whole capitalist mode of thinking, everything is monetized. Everything is monetized. Water monetized means before you would go, people used to think it's their dharma to offer water,
yeah.
And now you put everything in a bottle, and then the plastic you have to throw somewhere, and it's so it's we are not thinking in terms of what kind of lifestyle we should follow, the whole society should follow, so that we maintain certain higher values of life. Everything cannot be just converted into economy, into money, into monetization, and that's what is happening today. Is just everything is being measured in terms of money.
Means the human being, they have become tools for earning money.
Yeah.
Means I heard about some economists say the human beings are economic beings.
Yeah.
So human beings are moralist, ideological, ideology, morality, spirituality, values has gone very far.
Yeah.
Only we got tools for money.
Yeah.
You can say the money carrying machine.
Yeah. It's both the capitalism and communism, they are two sides of the same coin because both are matter centered. One is concentration of economic power in the hands of private individuals. That's why they eulogize those people who are very rich. Oh, he's the richest man on earth. It is not something to be proud of. It is something to be ashamed of. Something, people, the money should be spread in the whole society. So the value system is distorted. Same thing in the Marxist economy. It was concentration of economic power in the hands of the state, which is what is happening now even in our present government. All the economic power, concentrating in the hands of the state. Yeah. Through GST, through different means. But of course, the government is also taken up many social programs, and they are doing so people tolerate it. But when people feel that these schemes are not really serving them and only serving a few vested interests, then gradually people will lose faith and they want change, and then they will vote this government out of power and want something new. I think proud is the future for India and for the whole world because it provides both mini and maximum limits. There should be a minimum limit. Minimum purchasing power should be guaranteed to all the people. This is a minimum limit. And maximum also, that you cannot just, the gap can be maybe 1 to 1,000, 1 to 1 lakh, but not 1 to 10 million. Now it is okay if one person earns only 100 rupees and another person owns 1 billion. There is nobody to question that. So this is the basic defect of the present whole world economy, that there is no minimum limit, there is no maximum limit. In some countries, in democratic countries in Western Europe, there is at least some minimum wage and something is there. But in Asia and many countries, there is no such minimum wage and maximum limit. So I think that it needs to be, human beings have a desire for limitlessness. Today they earn 10,000 rupees, they want 100,000. When they get 100,000, they want 1 million, then 1 crore. There is no limit. So you have to have whatever people need for their comforts of life. Yes, there should be provision for that. But more than that, there should be some limit of the gap between the rich and the poor. So that and that would be, if we do that, then we will feel that okay, human beings are not only economic beings. There is something, other values which should determine what human beings are like, not how much money you have. Even if you have knowledge, even that is to be used for service. Not because you have 10 PhDs doesn't mean that you are a better person. If you are not using that, you are working for some ammunition factory and just killing people. Yeah. So we should use our intellect also for the service of humanity. So I think we need a society where the values have to be discussed. What values we need and which are missing today. That has to be brought back.
One thing I can see here in India or other country is people talk about the GDP. And by seeing or analyzing the GDP, we decide the standard of general people. So do you think it is a proper to decide?
You can be selling liquor and your GDP can increase. You can be doing crime and your GDP can increase. Means it is just the measure of economic activity, but whether that economic activity is a productive one or is needed one, there is no. So gross national happiness should be the measure, not the gross domestic product.
Okay.
So gross national happiness has to be measured whether the mortality rate of child mortality is low, whether everybody is literate, whether everybody has clean water, everybody has all the basic amenities of life, health care. If you get sick, you can go to the hospital. It doesn't matter whether you have money or not, but you can get proper treatment. Not only if you are very rich, you get very good treatment. If you are poor, you don't get treatment. So these gross national happiness, there is a whole movement of gross national happiness in the world, and I think that has to be the yardstick. And United Nations, they developed these 17 sustainable Millennium Development Goals, MDPs they call them, MDGs. So I think those should be the criteria rather than just the GDP. GDP has no meaning. And that is only leading us towards more and more production consumption, and people become just like robots to consume and to run that economic machine. And that's what is done.
It means production is for benefit. Production is not for consumption.
Yeah. Production is for profit only.
Profit.
You produce so you can get profit. If you get profit, and profit for few, not even for everybody. It's only for few, and that's why the economic, this disparity is increasing since last 2 centuries now. It is increasing. There is no sign for it coming down, and nobody is able to challenge it. No government can challenge. So whatever decision Microsoft makes, they were, the people are, it is forced to follow because they use the media, they use the government, they use the industry, So concentration of wealth is the root cause of the problems of the today's world economy. That has to be addressed. There is one economic thinker, Thomas Piketty.